I'm going to run through a review for your test tomorrow, kind of like we used to do in school when we were all together. Sad that I missed those days. Um, I'm going to run through the odds. I will leave the evens for you. What I'm going to do, or what I did, is I attached the worksheet that has the evens and the answer, and it's kind of up to you. You decide what you want to do in terms of prepping for this. You'll have all the answers there. Make sure that you know how to do everything. That's all I ask of you. Give it a try. So we were specifically working on arithmetic sequences, and so you're going to be asked, is it an arithmetic sequence? And remember, to be an arithmetic sequence, you need to add to get the next term. You can add a positive or a negative, but you add each time. A positive number or a negative number. Negative. Okay, so when I look at it, is this changing by adding a positive number or a negative number each time? Sometimes it's hard to look at them and sometimes it's hard to see, but it's got to be a constant change. And so what I usually do if I can't tell by looking at it is I'll just do the second minus the first, negative 14 minus negative 30, and I'm going to see what that equals. It should be the same as if I do negative 6 minus negative 14, which should be the same as if I do negative 2 minus negative 6. And if it is, that's my common difference, and that's considered what I add each time. You might remember seeing D in one of the equations. Well, so I'm going to do this, negative 14 minus negative 30. You can use your phone to do this. And I got 16 for that first one. And then I'll do negative 6 minus negative 14. So negative 6 minus negative 14. And I got 8 for that one. Well, I can stop right here because these are not the same. And so if these are not the same, then none of these are equal, and there is no D, so there is no as my answer. This is not an arithmetic sequence. Sometimes it's more obvious and you won't have to go through this step, but this is a way to get around it. Like if, I can't tell, go ahead and do that. All right? The other thing you learned is how to generate a sequence, and we did it using a recursive formula. Recursive formula is just a way to write it, and it looks scary, but all you need to know when you look at this is, how do I find the first term and how do I find what I'm doing each time? And so my first term comes from here. That means the first term of this sequence is 33. Just it says right here, a sub 1, subscript 1 is 33. And then this tells me my common difference. I'm going to add negative 10 each time. So I do 33 plus negative 10, that gives me 23, plus negative 10, that gives me 13, plus negative 10, that gives me 3, plus negative 10, that one I'm going to have to do. The other ones were kind of easy, but I'll do 3 plus negative 10, and that'll get me negative 7. And my job was to find the first 5 terms, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, first 5 terms. That's done. So when you get it in this form, you'll know the first term, and this other thing tells you what to do. All right, cruising through. The next thing we did was write the explicit formula. An explicit formula is a way of writing a sequence, just in a different way. And we write it as a sub n, that's the nth term, a sub n, is equal to the first term plus n minus 1 times the common difference. Now, n minus 1 goes in here all the time, and I've also seen it written where it's the common difference times n minus 1, and that doesn't matter either way. I actually typically use put the d first just because I'm more used to looking at it like that, but I know on Khan Academy he might have put the d last, and sometimes in the answer key the d comes last. Again, it doesn't really matter, so I'm just going to show you this way because I know that's how the answer is going to show up. So when I look here, I have to see what's going on. Negative 16 minus, negative 6, sorry, to negative 14, to negative 22, to negative 30. It looks like my D is minus 8. So I'm adding negative 8 each time. And again, if you can't tell, just do negative 14 minus negative 6 and see what you get. It should be the same as negative 22 minus negative 14 and negative 30 minus negative 22. I actually looked here to find it because that was the easiest spot for me to recognize what was going on. So the D, sorry, has to go at the end. Then this should have been, I don't know what I was doing here. This is a sub 1. So the formula is a sub n equals a sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. So now let's put it in this one. This is a sub n equals a sub 1 times n minus 1 plus n minus 1 times d. Well, that was painful. Sorry about that. So it's negative 6 plus n minus 1 times negative 8. That is my explicit formula. Sorry for getting all messed up there, but I'm just plugging it in that form. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. All right, so when we are, or if we're able to find the explicit formula, it makes finding the term number very nice because I can use that formula to find a given term. So what I'm going to do for these next ones is I'm going to set up the explicit formula and then I'll plug that value in and then we'll recognize maybe some shortcuts. So the nth term here is the first term plus n minus 1 times the common difference. So what's happening here to get from negative 15 to negative 45? It looks like I add negative 30. And so if I want to find the 24th term, that means 24 is going to go in here. But because it's n minus 1, because I don't count the first term, I need 23 terms after the first term to get the 24th term. What I'm going to plug in here is just 23. So this is just a calculator thing. A sub 24 is equal to negative 15 plus 23, which is 1 less than 24, times negative 30. And then again, I can just take my calculator and plug that in. Negative 15 plus 23 times negative 30. And I got negative 705. Negative 705. That becomes my answer. So just whatever that little number is there. We did the 100th term, so we were using 99 a lot, and that's going to show up a little bit later. But any term number you can do, just subtract 1 from whatever that little number is next to the a. Get it in your explicit formula. Once you get that formula, you can find any term number you want. All right, so now next, actually the last 3 problems that we're going to go through are evaluating series. And when they say evaluate a series, that just means find the sum. And the sum means add. So if I'm just listing all of these things here, I can do just that. I just add 14 plus 19 plus 24 plus 29 plus 34 plus 39 plus 44. So pretty straightforward. My sum then is 203. That's the sum. That's the value of this series or sequence. So that works out pretty nice. That's pretty easy to use your calculator for that. The problem is, what if I want to find the sum of the first 45 numbers in the series? Well, then I probably want to use a formula, or the first 100, because I don't want to generate this 45 series out and then plug 45 numbers into my calculator. What a waste of time. So the formula looks like this. It is n over 2 times the first term plus the last term. That's how I'm going to find my sum. And if I'm given everything, it's just a matter of me plugging it in. So this is 45 over 2, because that's what n is, times, then I would do the first term plus the last term. When I plug this in my calculator, I always put the 45 over 2 in parentheses as well, just because I want to make sure the order of operations are followed. And especially if I'm using my phone, order of operations doesn't always follow. So I'm going to go parenthesis 45 divided by 2, end parenthesis. Then I'll open another parenthesis, 13 plus 409. End the parenthesis on that one, and I'll get my answer, 9,495. 9,495. Okay. Now, we came across some problems where we didn't have the last term. So in problem like number 11, I'm given the last term. In problem like number 12, you're given the last term. You just have to plug it all in the formula. In a problem like 13, I have to find the last term. So I need to find the 100th term. So I have two steps going on here. Step 1, find the 100th term. And remember, that uses that formula that we worked up here, except for in the n minus 1 spot, I'm going to put 99 because it's 100 minus 1. So I can just use 99 in there. So in this case, it's the first term plus 99 times whatever my common difference is. And if I look at this one, it looks like I'm subtracting 3 each time. So my 100th term is negative 17 plus 99 times negative 3, and that's negative 314. A lot of times we feel like, oh man, okay, I'm done. I did all my work on that problem already. Nah, not yet. Now I have to do step 2. And step 2 is where I actually find the sum. So I'm going to use that sum formula that we used up here. I'm looking for the 100th, sum of the first 100th term. So it's going to be 100 divided by 2 times the first term, negative 17, plus the last term, what I just found, negative 314. And then again, I can plug it in my calculator. So I'm going to do parenthesis 100 divided by 2. I've done just 50 there, if you can recognize that that's 50. And then I have negative 17 plus negative 314. And my answer is negative 1,600, nope, sorry, negative 16,550 for my final answer. All right, so that is the review of for your quiz tomorrow. Again, if you want to give yourself some extra practice, go ahead and see if you can do the other ones. If you have any questions, as always, let me know. Otherwise, have a great day.